Hey guys, and welcome back! In this guide I will give you an overview of the 5 currently available bosses of Valheim, how you can find and summon them, and of course tips on how to defeat them alone or as a group. First of all, a general info and tips to all bosses. Every one of them has an Eikthyr that can be found by interacting with runestones. You will most likely stumble upon them while exploring the biomes, and once you read them, the boss location will be marked on your map automatically. Also, all of them will drop a trophy after the fight that can be mounted at the Forsaken Eikthyr and will grant the Forsaken power. To avoid the higher enemy spawn rate at night, you should get into boss fights in the morning. That will also give you the advantage of being rested. I would also recommend to place a portal or a shelter with a bed near the boss location, so if you die you can get back into the fight much faster. The video is made with chapters as usual, so if you are looking for one specific boss, you can easily skip forward. Boss number 1 is Eikthyr and can be found in the Meadows. He is a huge stag with red glowing eyes and electrified antlers with chains around them. To find him, you need to interact with the rune stone next to his sacrificial stone at the spawn. The location of his altar will then be marked on the map. To summon him, you need 2 deer trophies that you receive by killing deer in the Meadows. To be well prepared for the fight, you should craft and upgrade the leather cloth as much as you can, bring the crude bow with fire and flint arrows or the wooden shield and flint spear or the club. As food, I would recommend to have cooked meat, grilled necktail and either raspberries or red mushrooms in your inventory. Once he is summoned, Eikthyr will attack you with 3 different abilities. A melee attack with his antlers causing pierce and terrain damage, a ranged attack where he produces a beam of lightning, and a circular attack that also causes lightning damage. If you prefer the shield and spear or club technique, wait for the pauses between his attacks or parry and block them. Then hit him with your weapon. This is the fastest technique to kill him, but also the one that can cause more damage to you. Fighting him with a bow and arrow is safer but also takes longer. If you do this, you can use the stones around his altar as shelter from his attacks and keep shooting him from distance. If you play as a group, the easiest way is to do both techniques. Once he is defeated, you will receive his trophy and heart antlers. The trophy can be mounted at the Forsaken altar and activates the power of Eikthyr that allows you to jump and run for 5 minutes using 60% less stamina. Just like every other Forsaken power, it has a cooldown of 20 minutes. With the heart antlers, you can craft the pickaxe that you need to mine copper and tin from deposits in the Black Forest. The second boss of Valheim is the Elder that can be found in the Black Forest. It takes on the appearance of a large tree, just like the ants you might know from the Lord of the Rings. To find the altar of the Elder, you need to look for rune stones in the stone structures and burial chambers of the Black Forest. Interact with one of them and the location will be marked on your map. To summon him, you need 3 ancient seeds that are dropped by Grey Dwarf shamans and brood and can also be collected after destroying Grey Dwarf nests. To prepare for the fight, craft and upgrade bronze armor, the fine wood bow, multiple stacks of fire arrows and bring stone and wood for campfires with you. As food, you should prepare carrot soup, queen's jam and cooked meat, as this not only gives you good health but also a lot of stamina. In addition to this, some minor healing mead is helpful, especially when you play solo. Equipping and activating the power of Eikthyr is also recommended to reduce the amount of stamina you need when running away from the Elder's attacks. Once the Elder is summoned, he will come up with 3 different abilities. A close-range stomp attack that deals blunt and terrain damage to players nearby, a ranged attack with his vines, and an area attack with roots that quickly grow out of the ground when he lifts his right arm. To attack him from distance is the best technique here. When you play as a group, one player can climb up on one of the pillars that surround the altar and draw his attention. The Elder will always focus his attacks on only one player, so the others can attack him safely with bow and arrow. When you play solo, make good use of the fire arrows and before summoning the Elder, place some campfires around the altar as he is vulnerable to fire damage. Just leave enough space between the fires for you to maneuver. Once the Elder is defeated, he will drop a trophy and the swamp key. The trophy can be mounted at the Forsaken altar and activates the power of the Elder that allows you to chop down trees much faster. The swamp key is needed to open sunken crypts in the swamp, the next biome you will have to explore. Boss number 3 is Bonemass, who is the Forsaken of the swamp. He is a big green glowing mass of slime and poison and looks like the big brother of the blobs who has eaten all of his siblings. To find his location, you need to interact with one of the rune stones that can be found inside the sunken crypts. To summon him, you need 10 withered bones that you can collect in the crypts as well. For the fight, you should prepare poison resistance and healing mead, cause Bonemass will puke waves of poisonous ooze that deals massive damage to everyone around him. As food, I would recommend to craft sausages, turnip stew and serpent stew, as this will give a massive boost to your health and stamina bar. Before you summon Bonemass, you should level the ground around his altar with the hoe. That gives you the advantage of a bigger area to maneuver without getting stuck in the water. A fully leveled iron armor is also helpful alongside the iron mace or the iron sledge and the banded shield. Bow and arrow will not deal much damage to him, and I would only recommend to use it when you are low on health or a solo strategy combined with the iron mace. The 3 attacks he is coming up with are a swipe attack that he will perform in close range and that deals massive blunt damage, a ranged attack where he throws some kind of sticky green gok with monsters spawning at the location the gok hits the ground, and then there's the aforementioned wave of ooze dealing poison damage to everyone around. Before he starts the puke attack, he will charge up with a thick green cloud and leans backwards. If you don't have poison resistance mead, definitely stay away from this attack. As already mentioned, when you are alone, the best technique is to fight him with bow and arrow and iron mace and the banded shield. The shield is needed to parry his swipe attacks, which will give you time for more melee attacks. Try to hit him quickly after his attacks and then retreat to regain health and stamina. To give you an additional advantage on stamina, be sure to have the power of Eikthyr equipped to reduce stamina usage while running and jumping. If you prefer the ranged strategy, you should craft frost arrows. To do this, you need to get up into the mountains with some frost resistance mead and an iron pickaxe to mine obsidian. Then you will be able to craft frost arrows with which you can deal good damage to Bonemass from range. If you play as a group, one player should climb up on the large skull and shoot him with arrows so he focuses on this player. The others can attack him with their melee weapons. Also, one player should have the task to care about the skeletons and blobs that will spawn after Bonemass has thrown the gok. Once he is defeated, he will drop a trophy and the wishbone. The trophy can be mounted at the Forsaken altar and activates the power of Bonemass that reduces up to 75% of incoming physical damage for 5 minutes. The wishbone is needed to find silver deposits in the mountains biome, which is the next biome you will have to explore. Boss number 4 is Moder, the Forsaken of the Mountains biome. Moder is a large dragon with black scales and white hair. To find her location, you need to interact with one of the rune stones that can be found inside or close to older ruins. To summon her, you need to place 3 dragon eggs at the offering bowls and interact with the executioner's block. The eggs can be found everywhere in the mountains inside drake's nests. Note that you can't teleport the eggs and that they are very heavy, so you can only carry 2 of them at a time. The best thing is to mark the nests on the map and then collect them right before the fight. To be well prepared for the fight, I would recommend to craft medium healing mead, sausages, serpent stew and turnip stew to boost your health and stamina bar. Also be sure to have a fully upgraded wolf armor and draugr fang, an additional bow like the huntsman bow and loads of obsidian and poison arrows. Moder will alternate between flying and landing. When flying, she fires hard-hitting ice projectiles that explode later and deal heavy frost and pierce damage. When on the ground, she will either perform a swipe attack with one of her claws, dealing slash damage, or attack you with an icy breath that deals frost damage. While Moder is on the ground, you can attack her with the silver sword or the frostner, but be sure to parry or at least block her hits, otherwise she will slow down your movement significantly. When she's up in the air, the only chance you have is to hit her with bow and arrow. That's also the best way to deal with her when you play solo. Just stay away and attack her from range to defeat her successfully. Be prepared with a second bow, cause yours will most likely break during the fight, at least when you play solo. When you play as a group, 1 bow per player should be enough. During the fight, some players can focus on ranged attacks, while others attack her with sword or frostner when she's grounded. Generally, Moder is not as hard to defeat as Bonemass, it just takes a bit of time. Be careful with building structures or climbing up on mountaintops. She deals massive terrain damage and will most likely blow away the stone below you to make you die from fall damage. I would recommend to use the power of Bonemass for this fight, as it prevents you from a lot of her slash damage on range. Once you manage to defeat her, you will receive the usual trophy for the Forsaken altar and dragon tears. After mounting the trophy to the altar, you can activate Moder's power that will grant the ability to always have tailwind when sailing. Note that the power will only change the direction of the wind but not its intensity, so when there's only a slow wind blowing, it won't turn into a faster wind. The dragon tears are needed to build the artisan table, the workbench you need to progress from silver to black metal. The fifth and last boss at the moment is Yagluth, the Forsaken of the Plains. He is a large skeleton crawling on the ground because he only has the upper half of his body left. Finding his altar or one of the rune stones is actually much harder than killing him, because at the moment the rune stones are pretty rare. You will more likely find his altar randomly while exploring than the rune stones. His altar looks like stone fingers coming up from the ground trying to grab something. The rune stone can be found at stone circles or single groups of stones. If you haven't found both yet and you are getting frustrated, take my advice and use Valheim-map.world to find him. Over there you can insert your world seed and it will show you the location of everything you want to know. To summon him, you need 5 fooling totems that you can find inside fooling villages or towers. There should be at least one in each village. To be well prepared for the fight, you need fire resistance wine, healing mead and good food like lox meat pie, blood pudding and serpent stew. As weapons, I would recommend the Draugr Fang with frost and obsidian arrows for ranged attacks and the Frostner for melee attacks. I know the Frostner deals less damage than the black metal sword or the porcupine, but with the frost effect you will have the chance to slow him down and attack him in close range even longer. Once he awakes, he will start to attack you with 3 different abilities. One attack is when his right fist starts to glow blue. He will raise it and slam it down, causing a small circular explosion that deals blunt terrain and fire damage. When he raises his left fist, it will start to rain meteors that hit really hard and could cause your death if they hit directly. Run away from them or hide behind one of the stone pillars. The third attack is a fire breath that starts after he's looking upwards for a short moment to breathe in. All of these attacks deal fire and blunt damage, so be sure to stay away from them. In between, you can attack him with bow and arrow and the Frostner. Yagluth is moving pretty slow and sometimes even crawls away from the altar, so you have enough time to regain health and stamina if needed. Endurance and patience is the key in this fight. Eventually, you will defeat him and receive the usual trophy and a placeholder item that will reveal its true purpose later on when the game is further developed. After mounting the trophy at the Forsaken altar, you are the happy owner of all Forsaken trophies and also own the power of Yagluth that grants resistance against fire, frost and lightning damage. And that's it for today. I hope this guide helps you to defeat all 5 Forsaken and fill up your altar with their trophies. If it did, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more gaming content. Until then, thanks for watching. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.